We have Mr. Thomas Chong is in the studio.
All right.
Now,
Tommy,
thank you very much for coming in. We got a lot to talk about. Our audience knows you from Dancing with the Stars, but you're also involved with the cannabis movement.
Yes, big time.
At some level.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about cannabis and Tommy Chong.
Well, I actually invented cannabis.
Did you invent it? Were you the one who you're the one who grew the first plant?
No, I was the one that got caught selling bongs.
Oh, that's true.
And went to jail.
Yeah, well, what's the story with that? We read that. We prepared for this show.
Well, I got 2003. George Bush was president, and he was getting ready to invade Iraq.
Right.
And so, according to the government handbook, when you're going to start a war or get involved in a war, you have to find a group of hippies to attack or to.
It's happened with
roust,
Nixon,
or to blame.
right?
To blame.
It's always the hippies.
And so I had a bong company called Chong's Glass.
Okay.
And it was advertised in High Times. And so the government went through High Times and they got everybody that sold bongs, made a list of them, and started a thing called Operation Pipe Dreams.
Right.
Where they raided all the pipe companies, all the water pipe companies, and in the morning, early in the morning.
Yeah, but what about hookahs? I mean, isn't that some
No,
religious thing?
No, hookahs was exempt.
Hookahs were exempt.
Yeah, they were looking.
It had to be actually glass.
No, they were looking for bongs.
Bongs.
They told me when they busted me, kind of said, this is like a political bust, and don't worry about going to jail. You probably get house arrest, which really interested me because I love my house.
Yeah, listen,
You're under house arrest.
I have often said that what I'd like to do is voluntarily do house arrest, bank it.
I do it now.
Yeah, right. Bank the house arrest so in case something happens.
Yeah.
I've already done it.
Yeah,
I can hand in my certificate.
It doesn't work that way. But,
Ah.
but anyway,
I told you it didn't work that way. See?
Yeah, but they lied to me, and I got 9 months in federal prison. I changed his life. I changed Jordan Belfort. Jordan Belfort was in
Wolf of
prison
Wall
with us.
Street.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the way I changed the life was through the cannabis. I never smoked the whole time I was there. I didn't violate anything. What I did, I took advantage of the prison system. So what they do, they offer you a lot of things. They offer you free education.
Right.
They offer you courses in like how to grow grass. I learned how to grow grass in prison. And
You
they
mean
got
grass,
all these,
grass, or the euphemistic grass?
the grass. Well,
Sod.
Northern Sensibilia,
Well, grass is grass.
Right, grass is grass. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
true.
I learned how to deal with the soil.
Right.
And then Eric, the golf caddy, he had this beautiful farm, this vegetable garden.
Uh-huh.
And so when mealtime came, Eric would spend up to 4 hours cooking our supper out of the freshest produce and the freshest stuff that we could get.
Right, it's right out of Goodfellas.
It was exactly at a
You guys
Goodfellas.
made the Sunday meal. I got the meatballs. I'm making the sauce.
And so what I did when I went into prison, I turned it into like a religious retreat, because the guards, if you don't fight them, they become your servant. Basically, yeah, because that's their job, is to take care of us prisoners. And if you're nice, they'll be nice to you.
Tommy, was it hard for you for 9 months to quit cannabis completely cold?
I had no problem at all.
No problem at all.
I never have.
Great.
It's not addictive, man.
No,
And
there you go.
People talk
That's the
about
point.
that it's addictive. It's addictive. There's no addiction.
If you got, if you got a choice of smoking a joint and then violating your parole and ending up a year or more in prison or in the
Easy
hole,
choice.
I quit.
Yeah.
And so,
See?
and they tried to violate me. They had.
Wait a minute.
Well, who, Belfort? That guy looked like he was.
He might have gone for it, but to play for him.
He looked like a sneaky
No,
backdoor.
No, take your mind out of the gutter.
I can't.
What I meant, the prison itself tried to get me to break their laws by they would offer me a joint.
The guard would pass it to you.
No, not the guard. It would be some prisoner that was going to get some time off
If he got you to flip.
He got me to flip.
Right.
And so they would offer me a joint, but I had this what you call your buddy.
Right.
This guy, he's an old biker. Steve. He was my dog. Another thing, you know how they say about
Free to.
the marijuana laws are going to free people out of jail, and Obama has commuted some sentences and that. Don't believe. I'll tell
I
you what.
said this in here. I've said it. Listen, they want to vote for Prop 64 because that night we're going to start releasing people. Bullshit.
Yep.
What they do, the prisons are privately owned.
Yep.
And when you go to prison, it's up to the prison to let you go, because what happens when you get sentenced to prison, you get signed over to them. You become their property.
Right.
And unless they feel like letting you go, and they don't have to, they won't.
Right. The safest, most cost-effective prisoner is the cannabis user.
Yeah.
They're not going to be violent.
So we said the TV show Cops. When you walk in and people are drunk, it's a big problem because they all fight the cops.
Right. Yeah.
You walk in, everybody's stoned, and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Law
Come on in.
enforcement, the
Yeah.
last thing law enforcement wants is to say, okay, cannabis is legal. We have to go after the drunks, the cokes, the crackheads, the people using heroin, the people going crazy,
Oh, yeah.
people with guns. The violent crimes after they became legal, whatever legal means for recreational in Colorado, was down 17%.
Yeah.
17%.
That's amazing.
And it's going to keep going that
right.
way. See, and like people are worried now, because of Trump. But don't worry, that's not going to change anything, because the pot laws, the Trump people, that's one thing they could all agree on. The pot laws have to.
Well,
go.
yeah. Listen, my biggest fear is this guy Sessions, the guy who's going to be the Attorney General.
Don't even give it.
Don't
a
worry
thought.
about it.
Really?
You know my.
I'm
take
worried
on
about it.
You know what my take on all this is. These are guys that have those views because they're paid by sponsors
Right,
to have
by
those
Big
views.
Farm.
To have those views.
Big farm,
Okay.
big prison.
These guys are now working for the government. It's a whole different ballgame now. They're getting their money from the government. And so the climate deniers, they're all going to get an education. Sessions is going to get an education because he's not beholden to these racist guys that want pot.
Right, down in Alabama.
No. So what they're going to learn, and if they don't learn it, they're going to get outed right away, because the studies are already in. Anything that cures a 1-year-old child of epilepsy
Right.
should not be denied. That should not be denied based on the fact that it might lead you to a harder drug.
Let me just mention this real quick, Doc.
When we had the child for the first time in Aurora, Colorado,
Yep.
the Albuquerque girl who was having the massive seizures, she's 3 months old. They're trying to stop the seizures with Dilantin. They're trying to stop it with phenobarbital. Her liver goes into failure. They got a hospital administrator to finally say, all right, let's give him some cannabis oil. Seizures are gone.
Gone.
Kids are healed. How do you can't stop that.
You can't go back.
You can't stop
go
that. I
back,
agree
yeah.
with you.
I want to tell the listeners that they should check out this documentary that you're referring to, which is called AKA Tommy Chong, which
Yes.
chronicles you being arrested, going to jail, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And if you watch this, it feels like it's from the 50s.
Yeah.
It's right out of Reefer Madness, am
Yes,
I
it
right?
is, yep.
I honestly couldn't believe that this was from 10 years ago. 2006 was when it was released.
Yeah.
These people talk like this marijuana will kill people, and they were just...
Yeah.
It was like Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
Obama has, he's pardoned. He's at his clemency push lately.
Yeah.
At the end of his term here.
Yeah.
He's got 673 offenders pardoned and 70 more to come.
Mm-hmm.
You think there's a chance he'll pardon you for this?
Cheech met him. And
Oh, yeah?
and Cheech told him that I was going to go for pardon, and Obama said, "Has he applied?" And the thing is, when Trump got elected, I had lawyers contact me. They knew about my petition, and they said, "You better do it now." And then I looked into it, and it's so costly to fill out all these forms, and you're going to make some more money. And I don't really need a pardon because my sentence wasn't long enough to impact my voting rights or anything like that.
That's it.
What was the first couple of days outside like for you?
I got a Starbucks coffee the first thing.
Perfect.
That was the first thing I wanted, was a Starbucks coffee. But when I left, I looked
Guess what the second thing was?
I looked,
Kiln.
yeah, I looked so good because I had a tan. I was really good shape. And I had a barber, a Mexican guy who cut hair. He spent 2 hours cutting my hair.
Wow.
Literally. He just did, and he did such a good job. I've never had a haircut that good since.
Great.
So I come out of there looking like a movie star.
You are
We
a
are a
movie star.
What are you talking about?
This brings me to my next question for you. You just said you came out of there in shape. We've talked about this a lot on the show. A lot of these athletes, football players,
Yeah.
especially these long-distance runners, are cannabis users,
Yeah.
which is counterintuitive to what most people would think. You said that some of your heroes, from Schwarzenegger to Steve Reeves, these guys wouldn't touch sugar, cigarettes, or anything, but they like cannabis.
Arnold would not, if he took a drink of liquor or anything, he'd spit it out. But he'd smoke pot.
There you go.
Well, and rightly so.
Wasn't that a big part of you too, with your physical fitness?
Totally. I started working out because I was skinny and I wanted to get some bulk, and I played football and I was too skinny, so I hit the weights, and I realized women like guys with nice bodies
And weed.
and so but the body first.
Well,
Right.
there's no question.
The weed comes second, Frank.
Yeah.
Well,
And so
maybe in your case.
and then when Cheech and I did Up in Smoke, I wanted to make a statement that the stoners, so I had Cheech and I both in really good shape.
You guys were both in top shape during that
Yeah,
film.
you
but
guys were
people
all
don't
buff.
think of that.
You were all buff.
That's right.
Yeah, you were wearing the short.
You think about it
denim
subliminally.
jacket.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at these stoners and you go, wow, in your mind you see, we're not couch potatoes,
Right.
and all we're doing is looking to get high, or to get laid, but get high first.
And focus. You
He's
you
so
can
hard
focus
ahead
on
of
your
the curve.
workouts. You can focus on your
Right.
workouts. It's healing you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got the anti-inflammatory properties. It's got so you can burn through your workout. You don't have to worry about the lactic acid buildup.
No.
I mean, it's fabulous.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
good.
Ricky Williams opened up a cannabis-friendly
that's
gym
good.
up in San Francisco. Have you been up there yet?
No, I haven't been to his thing yet.
I
I
mean-
love Ricky Williams, by the way. He was
Well, listen,
way ahead of his time.
way ahead of his time. This is a guy who was top of his game left
Yep.
because shit, I'm not going to bang my head. You're not going to give me cannabis. It's neuroprotective.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Eugene
And-
Monroe, the guy from the Baltimore Ravens, just quit.
I don't blame him. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was, I lived down the street from him, he prolonged his career 7 years because he smoked cannabis.
There you go.
Yeah, 7 years.
It's
longer.
amazing how these things come out now, how healthy this is and benefits. You talk about it all the time, the medicinal benefits of this.
Yep.
Do you mind talking about this? You've overcome cancer now
Yes.
twice.
Yes.
How, does cannabis play a part in that? Or?
Absolutely. Now, what I did, there was a mixed thing here. I got prostate cancer first, and then I got the biopsy, and I think that might have triggered the rectal. But anyway, then I got another diagnosis from Boston. They said, don't do anything with that prostate because, it's slow moving. By
Right.
the time you do anything, you'll be dead of something else. So I left the prostate alone, except I took a pill called Abadart, which grows your hair. So that's one of the reasons why I kept doing it.
Hey, Doc, maybe.
Yeah, I'm
And so-
okay.
Just
thanks.
saying.
And so then it's an estrogen pill, by the way.
Okay, Ron, that's back,
Back to
to
me. Right.
And so, but then I asked this one holistic doctor, how would you treat prostate? He said with suppositories. And so I started doing pot suppositories.
Cannabis suppositories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about him on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
You
It's medicine,
are
Ron.
almost 79 years old,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
look at you.
Yeah.
You're still touring. You're still doing comedy. You're still doing all these things.
Yeah.
Do you attribute this to cannabis? Or do you-
Absolutely.
that's what these guys say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Abdul-Jabbar said it added 7 years to his career.
Yeah.
All these guys, Merle Haggard said that he would have had to quit 10 years earlier if he didn't have cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Remarkable.
fact that it has the psychoactive component, the fact that it gets you elevated or high, whatever you want to call it, that's just part
Just
of
a
it.
bonus.
I mean, listen, that's just extra.
That's right.
I mean, it's actually just medicine, man. It's medicine. It's
Yeah.
killing cancer cells. It's
Yeah.
decreasing inflammation. It's neuroprotective. It decreases your blood pressure. It opens up your lungs. It fixes the peripheral neuropathy. It does all these things.
But you know what I think more than anything? It calms the mind. You see, the mind controls so much, including the immune system. Well, Cheech and Chong, we have the same problem. Now we got people coming up and telling us, my grandma said she did both of you guys.
Well, all right.
They,
But my grandma.
Grandma.
Grandma,
This guy brought in the albums of Cheech and Chong, and Topo said, "What are those?"
can you imagine?
And that was serious.
This is what's happened to the millennials,
Amazing.
man. They have no idea
No.
about how we grew up and what.
No.
When we were younger, we're listening to your albums in the dark because it's like taboo. It's like,
Yeah.
wow,
Right.
how dangerous we are.
The covers are over.
Right.
Headphones.
We're listening to Cheech and Chong.
Right.
And we would, and you were telling us before we went on the other story about when you pissed Cheech off with the scene where he's knocking on the
Knocking
door,
on the door,
and
yeah.
you wouldn't
Dave.
let him in.
Dave.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey,
we would do
Dave's not
bits
here.
that make us laugh so hard that we just couldn't wait to get doing them again. Like Uncle Pervy. is that one of them?
But isn't that the whole thing? Like
Yeah.
even we do that in our lives. We
Yeah.
talk about it before the air.
Yeah.
We just try to make each other laugh.
That's
what's
it. I mean,
funny.
there's nothing better than just making each other.
Nothing.
You know, listen, if other people laugh, that's great. But if I can get him to laugh, or he gets me to laugh, that's all that counts.
Or
Yeah.
what's better is if somebody like for example someone you're married to would say that's not funny.
Then you know.
Then
it's
we're
funny.
dying because we know we got gold.
Then you
Then
know-
it's really
then you
funny.
know it's funny.
right? That's a home
I
run.
have to keep going.
Hey, listen. Well, since we have him here, Mr. Chong, would
Yes.
you please? Why don't you indulge us? We're very lowbrow. Why don't you give us some great nugget from in Rolling Stone recently? You said how you've had a chance to smoke cannabis with people from Schwarzenegger to Jabbar to Jimi Hendrix, Mick Jagger, Rod Stewart. What's a funny good nugget from one of these guys? The experience you had.
Oh.
All the Beatles, but Paul, I think is.
Yeah, I haven't spoken with Paul yet. And all the Beatles, they're like Ringo was on rehab or something.
Yeah.
So he wasn't drinking at the time. John Lennon was crouched, not sitting on the bed. He was crouched beside the bed, and he was going through some immigration problems with his Chinese girlfriend. Not Yoko, but he had a Chinese
Bao
girlfriend.
Ling or whatever her name
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Right.
And so I had a big old stinky joint. That was the night that
Sneaky joint, he calls it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was all stinky. You know that big old stinky.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, we all
smells
know.
up.
We all know that joint.
And so I offered it to John Lennon, and he goes, "No, I got immigration problems." And so then Rod Stewart come in and started messing with his hair. And so I offered it to Rod Stewart, and he said, "No, it hurt my throat." And so that's when I just smoked it myself, and then I went out and I met Jack Nicholson, and he. And
What kind of party is
This
this?
is so great. But his story of smoking weed with John Lennon and Rod Stewart is they don't smoke weed.
They want to smoke with me.
Yeah, but I ended
Who
up.
is the other than Cheech? Who's the most fun you've ever smoked with? Who and your wife? I mean, excluding your family. Excluding your family.
Probably George Harrison.
He was cool.
Yeah, he was very.
He looked
very
like he
cool.
was cool.
Yeah, he played in Basketball Jones, a tune that Cheech and I did.
He played on Basketball Jones.
Yeah,
How cool is that?
the first part, the introduction.
Did you know this, Pablo?
I did know that.
I thought you're the super fan.
I am the super fan.
He's it's
Basketball Jones.
yeah, it's in there. It's in there in the credits.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And we have outtakes, and we got it. We're doing a movie. My daughter did a documentary on Cheech and Chong just lately, and we found all the unreleased tapes of
Nice.
George dealing around with the guitar.
That's classic.
Yeah. So
I mean, he just looks like he was the coolest of them all.
yeah, he was definitely the coolest of them all.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. We hung
You
together.
know,
a few
the only
times.
reason that Monty Python: The Holy Grail actually was made was because of George.
George
He
put up the
funded the
money.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Imagine he funded. So he plays the guitar on Basketball Jones with
Yeah.
Cheech and Chong. He funds the Holy Grail,
Yeah.
And he was in a band, I think, right?
and he sang and wrote "Here Comes the Sun."
It's unreal. I mean, it really is.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
What?
You know why the Beatles got writing their own songs? They were a cover band first, and then other bands were covering their covers. And so they got mad. They said, "Oh man, let's write our own songs, and then if they cover them, that'll be our songs."
Yeah,
and
that's
so
great.
that's how they got writing their
Wouldn't
own
they be covering the
songs.
first guy's song?
Yeah.
Don't make it too complicated, Ron.